Welcome to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, where we talk all things good food, good business, and good cars. And now, here is your host, Arnold Gasita, founder and CEO of Petra Automotive Products. Let's roll.
Well, if you saw our last show a couple of weeks ago, we were here at the Tree House with the owner, Mike Kilton, and showcased one of his restaurants, Treehouse Cafe. He was gracious enough to let us use it as we interview our next guest. So we're still here at the Treehouse with the real tree. Still, the real tree is here, hasn't gone anywhere. But our guest now is Aaron Ammar. Aaron, thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure, Arnold. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We finally got to do it.
Yeah, we did. We did. I'm glad we're here now.
Yeah, for sure. Aaron, what's your favorite car?
So I will tell you. So I'm a practical guy, and my wife would often say,
"Please do not say minivan."
I am quite.
Do not tell me.
I'm not going to say minivan. I'm not going to say minivan
Because we're stopping this interview right now.
I agree with you. We're not going to say that. But I'm practical and I'm fairly simple. And so what I will say is I've got 4 little kids, and so the car that I've actually always loved as a younger person, and then also what I ultimately have right now is an Escalade ESV. And the ESV is crucial right now because with 4 kids, strollers, everything in the back, that extra 1.5 feet that you've got in the back right now makes a world of a difference. So it's a black Escalade ESV.
Yeah, and black's the right color.
Exactly.
You can look like you're part of the cartel.
You know what? It's been brought up a couple times. It's like, Aaron, are you part of the mafia here or what? I'm like, no, I'm not part of the mafia, but this car actually works great for our family. We've got 4 car seats in it, and my wife is the one that drives it the most.
Which is a great vehicle regardless, right? But you're still thinking, practical family, 4 kids, etc. Kids are grown. They're married. You can have a 1-seater or 2-seater car. What is that car?
You know what? I will tell you. So another car that I've loved. It's super nice. I love the Bugattis, and so the Bugattis I've now seen. I've seen a couple of them now. Whenever we're kind of around the area, and the Bugattis they're nice, they're fast, they're rare. You don't really see many of them.
Right. That's a museum
not very
car.
often, and sure. That is one that would go into a museum that I would ultimately love.
You should look up DeLorean. There's a new DeLorean coming out. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It may still be in concept, but man, it's phenomenal. It looks beautiful. It looks great. All right, of all the places you've traveled, what's your favorite?
All right, so what I would say right here, of all places I've traveled, what my wife and I that we'll go to quite a bit, and this has actually been a fantastic go-to. We'll do it honestly every single summer. We go to Boone, North Carolina, in the mountains, and it's actually a very, very special place for us. We'll take the entire family. We'll go for an entire month every summer, the past couple summers, and we'll go
Boone, North Carolina. And why is it special?
You fly into Charlotte, and then you drive 2 hours up the mountains into the Appalachian Mountains, small, quaint town. And it's actually one where I was born and raised in Texas. I left Texas, went to school out in North Carolina, in Boone, North Carolina. I played Division I soccer out there.
Okay.
And fast forward many years, I would have never thought that this would have still been in the vocabulary now. And so now living in Texas, it's a very special place because we take the family there for at least a month every summer. We let the kids go out and play in the creeks, and we're able to go to hikes on all the waterfalls.
So, are you like the Yao Ming of Boone?
You know what?
Like you go back. Is that why you go back because you're like, I'm the soccer player?
Yeah.
I used to play here for soccer, but everybody knows who you are.
I wouldn't say I'm quite the Yao Ming, but it is actually quite a special place because now we've actually we invest in a good bit of real estate out there, and so we actually own a boutique hotel right there on the main street, on King Street there, own a couple other buildings.
Do you stay there or you stay somewhere else?
We'll mix it up, actually. Okay. We will mix it up. So we've also got a family cabin in the area, and so we will stay right there. But the other special thing is that we have a rooftop, effectively kind of a rooftop bar and lounge, and so we'll always get up there. We'll get the kids their Shirley Temples. We can sit up and see a 360-degree view. We would have loved it.
That would have been great, man. Yeah. We'll do part 2 there.
Yeah, part 2. Let's do it for sure.
All right. So of all the places you haven't gone to, so bucket list places, what is your number 1 bucket list place that you would like to go to?
Yeah, so a bucket list place. Actually, one of the things that my wife and I would really love to go do together is go to Greece. And so that is actually go right there on the kind of the Greek islands right there. I've always had that on the radar. I have not been able to go personally yet, but it's actually something that we're talking about saying, hey, can we go over there? Can we go to Santorini? Can we go to any of those other islands?
I've been there. It's phenomenal.
Is it?
It is fun. Do it.
Yeah.
And whenever you can, do it. It is unbelievable.
I love it.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Take the winery tours. They grow the wines upside down. So hole in the ground, and the vines grow into the ground.
Nice.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's weird.
Interesting.
But good. And so anyway, it's a great place to go. The views are phenomenal. The island hopping is great. Get a catamaran, do a sunset cruise.
It's exactly what we had on the radar. Get on a boat and go hang out in the water.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Depending on what time you go, the water will be freezing. We were on one where the guy says, "Oh yeah, there's a volcano, gas coming from. I know it's cold, but if you hop in the water right here, you're gonna feel the warmth." And we all jumped in. I thought I jumped in something in the North Pole.
Really?
It was so freaking cold. Like, take your breath away. Like, I'm waving at people on the catamaran, going, "Do not jump in.
Yeah.
Do not jump in. It is not warm."
Yeah.
But you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Picturesque, wonderful.
You're talking me into it. That's honestly, that's been on the radar and something we'd love to get out and go do.
What about food? What's your favorite food?
Big barbecue fan. I'm a big barbecue fan and love a good steak as well too. So we actually we'll go to Perry's in the Woodlands, and so that's been a go-to spot for us. We go
Pork chop.
I get the pork chop many times, and actually we love also a good filet mignon. And so a lot of times can kind of I'll typically we'll get an appetizer of escargot with the filet mignon right there as well.
Now, do you cook? I mean, do you cook barbecue? Are you a barbecue guy? Do you cook your steaks?
Yeah, so I don't do it as much as I would actually like to.
Like if I ask your wife, is she gonna go, "Yeah, he cooks pretty good," or
she would say that,
or she's gonna go, "We go to Perry's"?
Yeah, no, she would probably say the latter. She would say we go to Paris. That's exactly what she would say. But I do like to grill, so grilling up some steaks, grilled chicken, grilled burgers. I really do enjoy the grilling aspect of it. Many years ago, I'd smoke. We'll kind of put some good meat in the smoker. We'll smoke every year for Thanksgiving, not just the turkeys, but we'll do duck and quail and other birds as well too. And so do love the atmosphere and the environment, but I would say our go-to if we're going to do a date night or cook up something good, let's say we'll get out to a restaurant. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Aaron, where were you born?
So I was actually born in the Woodlands, Texas.
No kidding.
Born and raised in the Woodlands.
I don't think I know anybody that was born in the Woodlands.
Yeah.
Or maybe I know them and I just don't know I know them.
Right.
But I've never had anybody say I was born in the Woodlands.
Yeah. So I was
So you're
born,
from here.
Yeah, born straight. Right in the middle of the Woodlands, Texas. I was moved away very young, a couple different places, but then basically from second grade on, born and raised in the Woodlands, and then.
So you were born in the Woodlands, and then. You
then
guys
moved over
around.
to
and
to
you
Louisiana,
came back when you were 2?
Dallas, and then came back when I was in second grade.
Oh,
and
came back in second grade, and from second grade to high school.
Second grade through high school, I was in the Woodlands.
What high school did you go to?
I went to the Woodlands High School.
No kidding. Played soccer?
Played soccer. Yeah. Played soccer at the Woodlands High School, and
you look more like a basketball player.
Hey,
right?
I was a big soccer player. I had to be an enforcer at the same time. And I actually played soccer all through high school, and then ultimately Texas only has one Division I men's soccer program, and that is SMU in Dallas. And I went there and looked at a great school, but ultimately started looking everywhere else, and I ended up looking out in North Carolina.
Did you get a scholarship?
I did. Yeah.
So you got a scholarship. What was the name of the school?
Appalachian State. So
Wow.
Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina.
And you went there for 4 years?
Yeah, went there for 4 years.
What did you study?
Yeah. So I got a double major actually in finance and banking, and then also did a double major with risk management and insurance. And so that was actually a pretty unique one. I'd actually never heard of.
You got a double major and played soccer?
I did.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. It was fun. And the unique thing about the risk management insurance major, something I never actually knew about it. My dad was in the oil and gas business. Knew I wanted to get into business, but I actually signed up for a snowboarding class, and it was to get my PE credits. It was close enough to a mountain you could actually get your PE credits, and I went to an academic advisor, and she says, "Hey, Aaron,
your soccer did not count like a PE credit?"
I know it didn't. That
makes no sense.
It's wild. I spent many hours.
You're
on
running
soccer
up and down a
fields.
field. You know, it's like okay.
Yeah, it didn't. I don't know why, but had the PE credit. She looks at me and goes, "Aaron, did you know if you actually just drop this snowboarding class and pick up these other extra classes, Aaron, and you can actually get a double major, play soccer, and be done in 4 years.
Good
And I
counselor.
said, done. Let's do it right then. Change it on the spot, and the rest was history.
All right. So you get your double major.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
So what's next actually is I did an internship in college on Wall Street at an investment banking firm up in New York City, and I absolutely loved it.
Lived in New York for a while?
I did.
While you did your internship?
Yeah, for a couple months. For
Couple
probably
months.
about 3-4 months. Yeah. Right in the middle of Manhattan.
In the
and
middle of it all.
It was.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
So you're about 18 or so?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
yeah.
you
I
would
was,
be-
well, whenever I did that, I would have been, probably 1920.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And so it was fantastic.
20-year-old,
Right.
single in New York,
Right.
internship on Wall Street.
Right.
That's like
It was fun.
somebody's dream,
Yeah,
you know, right?
it was a lot of fun. I loved it. Worked on the sales and trading floor. I mean, it's what you would see in the Wolf of Wall Street, and it was that sort of dynamic. And I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was great. And you fast forward a little bit, wrapped up college. I started interviewing with different folks around campus, and I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to be moving back to Texas right after college. I'm going to go back, get a job somewhere, and next thing you know, I ended up taking a job in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so I moved to a big city, Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a fantastic one for young professionals and just absolutely loved the city. Thought it was great. And
Doing what?
so I actually ended up got a job with Travelers Insurance, so the big
Okay.
red umbrella.
Okay.
So go from what I thought was going to go investment banking, sales and trading, what I absolutely loved, to taking a job at a company at Travelers and doing what you would effectively call middle market underwriting. So you're effectively telling people what they're covered for and how much they're going to be paying in insurance.
So individual or business?
Business, all business.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
all business.
All
so
business.
you're with Travelers, all business, middle market. So if somebody wants to get an umbrella insurance?
Correct. So it would have been if you're for Petra. It would anything that Petra buys for insurance, your umbrella, auto, property, your general liability, your workers' compensation. I would have been doing all of that,
Okay.
and so I would have been on the other side.
Where were you
basically.
when I needed you?
Exactly. Man. you can call me. Anytime. Still, anytime. I could at least point you in the right direction nowadays.
All right, so you did that. So you're actually selling.
Yeah, so as an underwriter, you're basically selling to insurance agents and brokers. They're the
Okay.
ones that are there.
So they're bringing you the
Right.
business.
That's correct.
You're underwriting
That's
and give them a premium
Yeah,
for that
that's exactly
risk.
Right. That's exactly right.
Okay, so you were underwriting that. How long did you do that for?
So I did that for probably about 2.5 years. So I did that for about 2.5
And
years, and then I went to an alumni function, and some alumni, some students, and then some professors all came, and I'm like, you know what, this is great. You can never pass up a happy hour alumni function. So I went there, and it was. I'm super glad I did because at the beginning I was like, oh, am I going to go or am I not going to be able to make it? I went and I was actually there, and a professor comes up to me, an old professor, and says, hey, Aaron, I got a great opportunity. I can recommend one name, and I would like to recommend your name. And she used to be in the industry for a while, and somebody reached out to her saying, hey, I'm looking for somebody. And she says, Aaron, I would like to recommend your name. And I said, okay, interesting. And so I was just sitting here thinking for a second. I mean, just not even 24 hours goes by. And I just bought my first townhome in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm loving it. That's where my buddies were. That's where my friends were. And life was good. I wasn't really kind of looking for anything different. And she follows up with me and says, Aaron, I haven't heard back from you in 24 hours. She goes, you need to take this. And I said, okay, please feel free, pass along the resume. And fast forward, long story short, I ended up moving up to Connecticut. And so from that alumni function to move was about 30 days.
Is it Hartford?
Hartford, right outside of Hartford, Connecticut. Yeah,
But not
that's
working
great.
for Hartford Insurance.
Not working for Hartford Insurance.
Okay.
They'll come full circle with Hartford Insurance here in a second.
No kidding.
But yeah, I ended up moving up there, work for a company called XL, just at the time, 2 letters, just XL. They do insurance for satellites, offshore oil rigs, all the big global stuff, right? And so every type of...
Same thing, underwriting?
So that I transitioned out of underwriting into what you would call enterprise risk management. So now you're basically looking across the entire globe. So at the time, my boss was the chief risk officer of the entire organization. We're operating in roughly 180 to 200 countries across the globe. And so I had immediate global exposure in every single country across the entire world. And so it was fun. It was great. So transition from underwriting into enterprise risk management. and really loved it, and was able to move to Connecticut. I joke around with people being born and raised in Texas. You got to kind of look at a map and say, where exactly is Connecticut? Because I'm moving, you know. And next thing you know, I'm gone, right? And I didn't know anybody, but I had a dog, and I said, hey, bud, you're coming with me.
It's the best way to do it. I mean, if you don't need to talk to anybody, you go.
Exactly.
You know?
So I ended up moving up to, I worked in Hartford, Connecticut. I lived in a town called West Hartford, and it was a great time in my life. I loved it. It's where I met my wife, and so that's where Connecticut will always have a very, very special place in our hearts. And worked at Excel.
Was she working for the same company?
So she was we were up there both separately. She's from Nebraska. She got a double master's down in Florida, and then she was up
with
in,
you double master people.
Hey, you know what? I know. I always tell her, I said, I never got a master's degree. I said, I got a double major, but you got a double master's, babe. And we ended up moving up to Connecticut separately. We ended up meeting out there, but she was at ESPN, where's the global headquarters for ESPN out there. And then I was in Hartford, obviously, and that's the insurance capital. And so we'd actually met out there at church. And so we'd both met out there. But during that time, I was at Excel. Always loved the entrepreneurial.
I'm glad you met at church. I was kind of hoping you were going to say a bar.
I know.
So we met at a bar because that would have been, you know.
Sometimes we'll say we met
everybody would be going, wow, I didn't know about Aaron.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes people will actually laugh and say, oh, church, is that the name of the bar, Aaron? No, it's actually not, guys. It's actually not. So, I was at Excel, and it was a great run, but I've always had the entrepreneurial itch in the bug. Throughout this entire time, was investing in real estate on the side as well, too, so multifamily properties, and really loved that.
So while you were there, you were buying properties?
Correct.
Okay.
So probably got the first one probably within a year out of college. And that was something to be able to do, right? And invest in.
Were you
real
flipping
estate.
or renting?
Renting.
Okay.
Yeah. So the long-term holds.
Okay.
So we were building up a portfolio, and so we ultimately did that. Single-family homes, multifamily homes, now into hotels and commercial properties as well now too.
So from that same company, LLC or whatever that you started,
right.
when you went to Connecticut buying these homes,
Yep.
that is still the same group that is now buying the hotels.
Correct.
Oh, very good.
Correct. Yeah, we bought our first property,
and that's always been like a side thing, right?
Yeah, but it could be a main thing.
Yeah.
But it's an investment. It's a real estate investment company.
Is it just you, or you have partners in it?
So it's myself and two other partners, and we all played soccer.
All college buddies?
Yeah, all college buddies. We all played soccer together.
That's the way it starts,
so we're on
man.
the soccer team together.
Yeah.
And that's how it's run ever since.
Okay. All right. So you're Connecticut. You're Excel. What's next?
Yeah. So while I was at Excel, loved what I was doing there. I thought it was great. I ended up connecting with some other folks that were over at Excel, and I ended up being a kind of a global co-chair of what you call the Emerging Risk Committee. So every organization has risks, but instead of shying away from the risk, one of the things you also try to do is every risk is calculated. So what risks can I also exploit the opportunity? And one of the opportunities that came up was what you would call the sharing and on-demand economy. So like you would say the automotive industry or the oil and gas industry, you would say the sharing and on-demand economy. Think on-demand. It's an app based on your phone. Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, DoorDash, Instacart, all of these app-based companies, you can get something on demand, was a new industry, right? And
Yeah,
so
for
imagine
sure.
all of this coming onto the scene, but all of these folks need to have insurance. How do you get insurance while you're in the Uber for the 2 miles that you're on the road to make sure you're covered, right? How do I make sure that the food delivery person
So you're still thinking
has
insurance.
Correct.
But for the on-demand industry.
That's exactly right. So sat back and says, okay, insurance, but for the on-demand industry. Ended up linking up with a couple folks. We ended up leaving Excel, started our own company. And so we started a company called Why Risk. Think why risk it when you can insure it. And we went out, we started
YWHY.
just letter Y dash risk.
Okay.
And we actually did. It was actually unique because it was letter Y. Majority of these app-based companies were started by Generation Y.
Okay.
And so it was Y-risk.
Okay.
Fast forward 3 years, we ended up creating a bunch of bespoke, innovative insurance products, sold it corporately to all these companies, right? So I was going back and forth between Connecticut.
So who were some of your customers?
Oh, so we had quite a few customers. I mean, a company called Outdoorsy, Airbnb of RVs, global operation. That was one of the early ones as well too. We would talk with a variety. I mean, there was some of the bird scooters, right? So some of the other ones that could have existed out there. There was portions of them. There were companies called. There's another big ride-sharing one called Via, based out of New York City, and so there's many, you hear about all the big name app-based ones, but there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other ones that might be regional or
Sure.
geographic.
Well, there's a lot of
based.
car ones that are regional.
Right. So yeah, we did quite a bit of that, and so we created all these bespoke insurance solutions. Fast forward, and this gets back to your Hartford comment. We ended up getting acquired by the Hartford, and so
No kidding.
yeah. So
Y Risk gets acquired by Hartford.
correct.
And how many partners you had in a Y Risk?
So we had we kept a small company. We had a total of 7 from kind of right there through the beginning through acquisition. So
Okay,
it was a
so you get
small,
acquired.
lean, nimble shop.
Do they keep you, or they say, "Here's your money, thank you very much"?
No, they kept us, and Y Risk is still an operating entity of the Hartford to this day. They didn't fold in the brand; it's still part of it. It's Y Risk, part of the Hartford.
That's the way to do it.
So yeah, it was great.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, it was great. We kept it
Because
was
if it gets folded in, it disappears.
right. That's exactly right, and that was kind of one of the big things. So we ended up right inside of 3 years. The acquisition closed. And it was right at that time that it was a great run. It was fantastic. They said, "Hey, let's keep you around." And so what ended up happening at that time says, "All right, this is great. Let's do it." They kept us as a separate entity. And then during the acquisition, we'd had our first kiddo. And my wife and I said, "Hey, let's move south to Texas."
Because you're still in Connecticut
Still in
through
Connecticut
this whole
at
time.
this time. That's correct.
Okay.
Still in Connecticut the whole
You were
time.
like, we've seen the leaves fall enough.
Right.
We've seen the color change enough.
Right,
We've dealt with the cold enough.
Cold. Yeah, the cold. We've seen enough snow right now. No, they pile high above our car. And so we said, we're moving south to Texas, and we moved south to Texas.
You said it litigates the risk.
Right. Exactly. So moved south to Texas, and then started life to the Woodlands.
Came back to Woodlands.
Came back to the Woodlands. Was still working for the Hartford.
She was not from the Woodlands.
No, she was
But
not.
she had visited the Woodlands before?
She had come to see my family and
she liked
everybody
it.
else as well
Okay.
too, and she liked it, and she thought it was great.
So your
She
family's
said-
still in the Woodlands.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. 10 minutes down the road, which is fantastic.
Now her family in Nebraska, meanwhile, is going, what about us?
I know.
What are we? Chopped liver here?
Yeah, I know. I know. We
But
do.
they're cold,
Yeah,
cold.
They are cold out there. We go back probably I'd say a couple times a year to go see him and go visit. And her mother lives in Colorado now, so we'll make it out to Colorado. So we make sure we encompass
Man,
and
they
see
like
the
the cold.
entire family. I know, right?
They're following the cold.
They couldn't get down to the heat in Texas. That's the truth. That's the
Yeah.
truth.
All right, so you sell the company, you stay with them for a little bit, right?
Correct.
And then you guys decide as a family it's time to move to the Woodlands.
Correct.
So you resign.
Yeah.
You come to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
So actually, when I said correct, so what we actually did is moved to the Woodlands and still worked for the Hartford, but from just the branch office.
Okay.
And so it was down here. And then what actually ended up happening is one of my early clients, Outdoorsy, and I ended up keeping in touch with the CEO over time. We'd met and we'd kept in touch over the years. We'd rekindled the conversation and said, let's talk. And so one thing leads to the next. I end up joining Outdoorsy, leaving Hartford, getting back into the startup world. Hartford was a great company, but I've always had that startup bug. So sit back and say, let's get back into the startup world. Join up Outdoorsy. Like I said, it's a marketplace for RVs. If somebody owns an RV and it's going to sit idle majority of the time out of the year, take some pictures, put it up on Outdoorsy's platform. If you're looking to go take your family on a trip or on a vacation, you can go on and rent it from me.
So it's like the Airbnb of RVs?
That's exactly what it is.
So you invented that?
I did not invent it. I ended up linking up with the
Oh, that's right. He
CEO
was a
of
customer
that.
of yours.
because he was a customer of ours.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was founded
So-
in 2014.
So he invites you back to do what?
So he got invited back to be their chief insurance officer. So ultimately oversee all their insurance, claims, operations.
Because when somebody rents
across
it,
the board. That's correct.
you get insurance.
That's correct. Imagine handing over what many people's second largest asset after their home.
Mm-hmm.
RVs aren't cheap. And if I'm going to rent it to somebody that may not always know how exactly to drive it, you want to make sure that RV's coming back in one piece. And so that's exactly that. How do you do insurance for the 6 days that somebody's on a trip? And how do we manage that and make sure that works, right? And then not only how do we have that insurance be a cost center, how do we actually turn it into a profit center, right? And not necessarily have it be insurance, but maybe offer bundles or other products, right, along with it. So that's exactly what I did. So I joined up with them. And from there was a concept of roamly. Just think, you're out roaming the outdoors, LY, so roamly. And we put a brand on the insurance. And it's, maybe not a lot of people love insurance. I understand it. I get it. And it's all good. But
It's needed, but we hate it.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. And so we ended up just putting a brand on it. And we ended up talking. And it was just the roamly opportunity. If you're providing insurance during the rental period, why don't we also go ahead and provide insurance during the non-rental period, right? All the other times throughout the year. And oh, by the way, if we're doing that, why don't we also do this for fleets of RVs where somebody might have 10 or 15 or 50 RVs? Oh, and by the way, why don't we offer them a vehicle service contract? And why don't we also do their home and their auto and
so you would do a vehicle service contract. That's now talking my world, right? Service contract on a vehicle that was already pre-owned, a few years old.
Correct.
And you would offer secondary.
Correct.
Would you have data as to that their contract was expiring, or you were just offering it regardless?
Yeah, we would offer it regardless. We are starting to begin to incorporate that data as well, right? Obviously, with any sort of startup, you've got to start to gather the information. Yeah, so we'll start to kind of collect that information as well too.
And you were doing it for light duty vehicles, passenger cars, or just RVs, fleets?
Just RVs.
Just RVs.
Just RVs for now. Now. So we end up doing Roamly. Roamly was a brand or a feature within Outdoorsy. We said, let's do it. So we spun Roamly out of the company. And so I was ultimately one of the co-founders and then responsible for Roamly, and was still involved with Roamly and leading that. The company's still growing very rapidly right now.
So you're still part of Roamly?
Yeah, still involved with Roamly. Yeah, so serve as the chief insurance officer. I'm now on the board of Roamly as well too, and so stay very.
And so somebody has an RV, they
tapped
go to
in.
Roamly.
Exactly.
And they can
across the entire nation.
buy insurance for the temporary rental.
Correct.
Or they can buy insurance always for always.
Correct.
And they can buy service contracts.
Correct.
What else?
Home products, boat products, motorcycle products. You can do. We do car share products. So imagine these car
Uber
sharing
driver.
platforms. Yeah, right. We'll do that typically during the non-rental period for certain industry, and so the list goes on. We're adding a lot more. We just think any individual or insurance that an individual may need, we can handle all of that.
And so how long have you now been with Outdoorsy and Roamly? That combination has been how long?
About now I'd say probably about 3.5 years now. And so it's been growing. It's an exciting time, I would say, in the industry, changing the game. Auto industry, it's very typical where you can go to an auto dealer and you can buy auto insurance really at the point of sale, right? Through a phone, through an app. RV industry is not that.
Yeah.
So Roamly's now embedded with at least 4 of the 5 largest RV dealers across the entire nation, where you can get insurance at the point of sale. And
like
really,
Camping World?
Exactly. We're not partnering with Camping World.
Yeah,
They've got some of their own
but
offerings,
an RV
but like that.
retailer
That is
like
correct.
that.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you buy an RV, and at the time of sale, Roamly comes up.
That's exactly right.
And you can pick and choose what insurance
exactly
you
right.
want, etc.
That is exactly right.
That's great.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So,
That's a great business.
yeah, it is. So it's growing. It's exciting time. It's
Still hands-on.
still active with the company.
And is it based in...
It's headquartered out of Austin, Texas. So yeah,
Okay.
it was
Where's Outdoorsy based out of?
Austin, Texas as well too.
Always has
So,
been out of Austin?
They were actually based out of Silicon Valley. So they were actually based out of San Francisco, the
And
Bay
like
Area.
all good Silicon Valley companies, we all come to Austin.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So that happened a number of years ago, and then now we've got Outdoorsy down there in Austin, Roamly in Austin as well too. And so it's
And do you have an office here, or you kind of just go back and forth?
Yeah, go back and forth. We predominantly work kind of from the house nowadays, but a lot of times we'll go ultimately back and forth.
What's the next thing in Aaron's path? I mean, what are you thinking? What's the next thing?
Yeah. So I'd say the next big thing right now is obviously I love building. I would say that is innate inside of me. I love the building businesses and companies across the board. So obviously build Roamly and Outdoorsy as big as it possibly can be. So that's obviously gonna be a continued big focus and priority as well too. I think the real estate, that'll continue to go, right? That's like any
And
good
that's
investor.
a real business, but a side
Yeah,
business.
that's exactly right.
How many hotels do you own now?
So just that we own one boutique hotel right now. We're actually doing a pretty big expansion to add on additional rooms. We bought another building, so we're doing a big conversion and retrofit on the hotel right now. So on another commercial property that we have there, so we'll be adding.
You know anybody that can insure that?
I can find somebody. Yeah, exactly. I can find somebody. So we do that.
Is that same company the one that owns the bar?
Yeah. So it's actually a hotel that also has a restaurant, bar, and lounge in it, right? So we have the boutique. They're all very, very boutique bedrooms, all one of a kind, 15 of them. there, and then we've got a lounge, and then we've got a rooftop bar as well too, and then we've got another one. So then we're actually doing in the middle of a pretty big expansion to add another 8 bedrooms.
Okay.
Eight hotel rooms to the property.
All Boone, all in Boone, right?
All in Boone right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It hasn't been. It's been kind of around North Carolina. We've got some other.
And what about the
geographic
homes,
too.
the properties? Are they all around that area? You have those spread
predominantly.
out?
Yeah, predominantly in North Carolina. Yeah,
Really?
predominantly in North Carolina right now. Because I lived there for a number of
yeah.
years, and my 2 partners still live in town, and we've just gotten acclimated to that area. So it's been great. So I would just say, just continue to build these businesses as a whole. Like I said, just very, very entrepreneurial driven. How can you?
What do you think
things up?
is looking back at where you're at now? If you can name 3 things that you feel got you to where you're at today, what are they?
I would say 1 would be my faith in Jesus Christ. So that would be number 1. It wasn't always like that, but I would say whenever I really, really came to know the Lord and pursue Him, I would say that's the guiding light across the board. I would also say my wife, that who you ultimately choose as a partner is pretty pivotal. And she's been extremely encouraging, extremely supportive, extremely on board with, I would say, the entrepreneurial vision and the desire to kind of create this life that we ultimately have here. And then I would just say it's just number 3 would just be a function of your network. And your network is your net worth. And it doesn't always just happen to be, I got to go meet this networking event or go meet this person. But I'm talking genuine connection, right, across the board, where you actually care to know that other person. You actually, when you get together, you enjoy having a cup of coffee with that individual or a lunch with that individual, because at the same time, when you go there, you don't always just ask them, hey, I need a favor, I need some help. You go into that saying, how can I actually help you, right? And so whenever I've kind of taken that mindset to life, to people, to friends, to colleagues, to mentors, I would say are 3 pretty big things, right, that have, I would say, kind of obviously been helping to navigate.
To get you where you're at. That made you help you get to where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. And
What is the advice for somebody young? Somebody that says, I want to be the next Aaron.
Yeah.
Is that the same advice, or is there something else?
I would actually probably share that same advice. That for me, faith is huge, and for me, the faith is a guiding light, and it is not something that I try to keep faith at church on a Sunday and then go be somebody different.
No, you can't. That's not
in the workplace. Yeah. And so,
I tell people that I agree. 100%. I think first and foremost, always because of God.
Right.
Second is the people that God puts in your way. Right. Now you can damage the people that God put in your way.
Right.
But it is, in my opinion, it is first and foremost God and the people that God put in your way.
Right.
I tell myself all the time, God put you here now. Right?
Yeah.
It's not that I hired you.
Yeah.
It's that God put you here now.
Yeah.
When you give Him the credit, when you acknowledge that you are dependent on Him, I believe the world changes.
Right. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And the other one, I'd even add just like a 4th, right? It'd be my dad and mom, right? And family, right? Because it's always there to encourage and say,
Well, your mom and dad are your first mentors.
Right. Exactly.
You're learning a lot from them, whether you realize it or not, good, bad, indifferent, whatever.
Right.
They're your first mentors.
Right.
Sometimes parents don't realize that.
Yeah.
They're the first mentors.
Right.
A lot happens in those 18 years of mentoring. You can't do the church and fake thing, right?
Right.
We're going to go to church on Sunday, but during the week it's going to be a whole different thing, right? Because that mentoring catches on that.
Yeah.
I think persistent is a big thing too. I think people need to be persistent. I think we've talked about this before. You're obviously a lot younger than me, but the younger generation you gives up a little bit quicker than they should. Don't give up so fast. Be persistent. Right. You got to be persistent. I think that's helped me in my career is I don't stop. We're going to get it.
Right.
We're going to figure it out.
Right.
And thank God for the people that puts in my way that have the patience to figure it out with me.
Right. It's the truth. You use the word consistent. Persistent. A lot of times I use the word consistent.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll say professional athletes don't become professional athletes just by having a good day once in a while. They have to be persistent and they have to be consistent in order to in order to ultimately be the best at whatever it is. Professional athletes, great entrepreneurs, build big businesses. So I totally agree with what you're saying there.
That's great. That's great. Aaron, it's been great having you on the show.
Oh, I appreciate it.
It's been wonderful.
Yeah.
So part 2 in Tennessee.
Hey, there you go.
Thanks,
North
brother.
Carolina, in Boone, North Carolina.
Boone, Boone. I'm sorry,
at the
North
hotel.
Carolina. Yeah,
For sure.
You got it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Arnold.
Thank you for listening to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, your main source for all things good and fun, business, food, and cars. If you like this episode, make sure to rate us and subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please leave a message at the link below. Till next time, happy eating.